10 million people. That's the number of new traders who enter the market each and every year with the dream of achieving financial freedom through trading. The reality is that 99% of them fail within their first 6 months. If you're serious about becoming a consistently profitable trader and achieving success over the long term, then in today's video, I'm going to share the 5 things that you can do to actually become a top 1% trader. The very first thing you have to understand, you're being lied to. All of these internet marketers, these lifestyle gurus, trading in penthouses, on the beach, traveling the world, flying private jets, driving Lamborghinis, they're lying to you. They're playing on your desire to make money, and they want to essentially just sell you a course. That's how they make their money. And so the reality is if you're looking now at all of these traders who are just essentially getting your attention by saying, hey, look at this lifestyle that I'm living, you can live that lifestyle too, just come and join my course. Now, I want to be clear, I am absolutely an advocate of education. I have a mentorship program myself. The differentiation is that fake gurus, they don't have any value to provide. They just want to show you a lifestyle because they understand that that's going to play on your desire to get results and get results fast. That's the first thing I really wish I understood when I first started trading. When I first started trading, I too fell for this trick. You've got signals, right? Signals are one of the worst things you could ever do. Signals, for those who don't know, is essentially a service where traders will let you take the same trades they take. Sometimes they might charge you, $97 a month, join my signals, you'll make $1 million. Sometimes though, they even tell you it's free. Now, the reality is, in both of these scenarios, the objective of this person is number one, to make money from you joining them. Or number two, if it's free, they're getting paid by the broker. Because here's something very interesting. You see, how trading works, especially Forex and CFDs, you have a broker, right? Your broker essentially wants your money. And you come to this broker, you put your money into this broker, you copy this guy who tells you, copy my trades, they manipulate the results, they lie to you, they lie to people, copy my trades, you can have this Lamborghini as well, right? And so what happens is the broker pays this person to bring you into their service, and then they need to provide you trades. Now here's where things get a little bit interesting, because there's a huge conflict of interest. Why? Because brokers essentially, they run this mechanism called B-booking, right? Now what that means is that when you place a trade, you're not getting matched to the live market. You're getting matched to your broker. So for every long position that you open, they're taking the short position to fill your order. Why? Because they know there's a huge chance that you're going to lose money. And so where does that money go? It goes into the pocket of the brokers, and it goes into the pocket of the person who sold you the dream in the first place. I fell for this. You've probably also fallen for this also, and hopefully you've realized that it's one big scam. And if you haven't and you're trying to look for signal services, let me save you the stress, the money, the mental health that it will consume, and tell you, do not even try. I don't care how good their fake results look. The reality is, it is a scam. Not only will it not work for you, but it's also training you to become codependent. You see, you want to be a trader. That's what you tell yourself. Your goal is to become a self-sufficient trader. Someone who can create financial freedom for themselves. You want to create that financial freedom for you. And yet you want somebody else to do the work for you. That's not really how the world works. You have to do it yourself. And so by looking for signals, not only are you putting money into the broker's pocket and putting money into the person who sold his pocket, you're also robbing yourself of the responsibility of your own financial well-being. So to be clear, the lifestyle marketers, if they're in jets, in Lamborghinis, and they're telling you, hey, you can have this lifestyle, buy my course, right? Anything related to lifestyle. You want freedom, you want this lifestyle, buy my course. It's a scam. There's a very high probability. And you see them with their results, but they're faked results. Do you know how many traders there are? I won't say names, I don't want to get into any lawsuits, but some of the biggest traders you think are legit are actually out here manipulating all of the brokers. And in fact, what happens is, and I've had so many brokers and prop firms come to me, offer me thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars just to send people to their brokers. I could have made a fortune. I chose integrity. For me, extra bit of money to sell my soul, not a great trade. But for these guys, they don't really care. So you have to understand how to differentiate between the people that are truly just out here trying to lie to you to fund their own ego and their own lifestyle, between the actual educators out here. I'm not saying everyone's a bad person, but the way you can see is there are people out here, again, take note, that are trying to give you value. There's no value in showing you a Lamborghini. All it does is trigger and spike your dopamine receptors. It's not going to get you closer to your goal. If anything, it's going to take you away because you're going to fall for stupid things like joining signals or trying to buy courses from people who are going to lie to you. The reality, though, is that you can have this lifestyle from trading. You can absolutely, but you have to do the work, and you have to do the work in the right way. So without further ado, let's move on to the second thing that will allow you to break free from this 99% who just can't achieve success and break into the top 1% who are really getting the results. So the next principle that I'm going to be sharing with you is the actual path to achieving freedom. Now, I'm not telling you it's hard, because trading is actually easy. It's easier than a lot of things out there, although many people try to say it's hard. Maybe that boosts their ego. I don't know, I once thought that trading was hard, but the longer that I've traded and compared it to other things, the easier it actually is. Essentially, you just have to control yourself. Trading is just pretty much a game of discipline once you already have your edge. So that's pretty much it. Now, the second principle that I want to share with you is the actual path to achieving what it is that you want to achieve. So we're going to be discussing the real way. Let's break trading down into something that's actually very simple. Biggest difficulty in trading is figuring out what to do. Once you know what to do, that's when it becomes easy. And so in this segment, I actually want to tell you what to do to become successful. Here's the goal, right? Let's say, for example, you have the goal of making, let's just say $10,000 a month from trading, right? Very much a modest goal. Some of you maybe more, some of you maybe even need less, but $10,000 a month, it can at least replace a lot of people's income and allow them to kind of look at scaling that up. Let's reverse engineer that. Now, in order to achieve that goal, you realistically want to be aiming for probably 5% monthly returns on a $200,000 account, or a more modest 2.5%, right, monthly return on a $400,000 account. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are confused right now because they're thinking, wait, 5%, 2.5%? This guy turned $100 into $1 million. Yeah, that's not real trading. You go and tell that to someone that works on Wall Street, or someone that works in JP Morgan, or some of these large institutions that have proprietary firms. They'll laugh at you. They'll laugh you out the door. The reality is if you can return consistently, being the key word, between 5 and 10% on average a month over the span of a year, that will take care of you completely financially. Because the game of trading is actually a game of assets under management. Essentially, it's how much money you have more than what percentage you can return. Let's say you have $500,000 in assets under management. Assets under management essentially meaning the amount of dollars that you're trading. I know some of you may be looking at that number and thinking, $500,000, $500,000? There's no way I'm going to be able to put $500,000 in a trading account. Well, luckily for you, you don't have to. There are prop firms out there that will give you this money if you just prove to them that you can trade profitably consistently. They'll give you the $500,000, and whatever you make on that $500,000, you're going to be keeping 70, 80 to 90% of all the profits you generate. So let's say you get to $500,000, which is actually very much a realistic goal as long as you stick the duration and do the work required to do. $500,000. Let's say you return 10% a month. And I'm using 10% because it's a simple number. And for me personally, the system that I use generated 110% in 10 months of 2024, which averages at around 11%. So for simple maths, 10% a month is something very achievable. I don't have one system either. I have a couple different systems. One of my systems generated on average 11% a month in the year of 2024. So you generate 10% monthly returns on $500,000, you make $50,000 a month. Now, let's say on the other hand, you have a $50,000 account, right? You have $50,000 in your account. You have to generate 100% returns to achieve that same 50K. It's really about the amount of money that you are trading. At $500,000, you can technically return 2% a month. Very conservative returns. 2% a month, like extremely doable. My little sister could return 2% a month with a couple of months with me. 2% on $500,000 in funding, that is your $10,000 a month. So let's say your goal is $10,000 a month. Now you need to understand how you're actually going to get to that goal of $10,000. The amount of assets under management that you need and the percentage return that you need in order to do that. Once you have that, then essentially it's about reverse engineering how to actually get to that point, right? So you understand your numbers, which is the first thing. I mean, you can't achieve anything if you don't have a goal. So you have your goal. Your goal is $10,000 a month. And the way that you're going to get to that $10,000 a month consistently is by essentially getting yourself $100,000 to $500,000 and being able to return anywhere between 2 and 10% monthly average returns. Now, in order to get those returns, you're going to need a trading strategy that is able to generate those returns. So now you need a trading strategy, a set of rules that you follow that tell you, if this happens in the market, then I do this. And so you have rules for when you enter the market, why you enter the market, when you exit the market, take profit, stop loss, everything. Every decision that you make as a trader should be systemized. It should be planned, right? I have one trading strategy that has one playbook, and inside of that playbook, there are 27 variations of types of trades that could be taken. And then I also understand all the intricate details of those setups. So I understand my edge. I have an edge. It's my trading strategy. It essentially says, if this, then that. It's that simple. If this happens, I do this. If that happens, I do that. That is essentially your trading strategy. Now, to develop that trading strategy, you essentially need to have your core concepts. That's your technical analysis, right? For some of you maybe watching now, you're looking at support and resistance, maybe you're looking at smart money concepts, maybe you're looking at a bunch of other things. I personally trade smart money concepts. I personally think it's the best way to trade. And the reason for that is pretty simple. I'm someone who cares about understanding the root cause. I think it's a pretty fair argument that for me, I believe there's more probability of something working consistently if that thing is predicated on understanding what's actually happening. So I need to understand all of my core concepts. I need to understand how to accurately read the market, right? That's the next step. The next step is, how can I accurately read price action consistently? Once I can accurately read price action consistently, then I need to take those ideas and put them into a plan. Because the idea itself is useless, right? If I only had a candlestick pattern, but nothing to tell me when I should be looking for that candlestick pattern, at what time I should be looking for that candlestick pattern, what I'm going to do when that candlestick pattern happens, then it's pretty much useless. So what you need off the back of that is you need to create a trading plan, right? And the way you create a trading plan is you combine all of the different concepts into an order whereby you go from the idea of a trade all the way down to closing the position and everything in between. All of this should be rules. That's your plan. Once you have a trading plan, now this is where most people go wrong, right? People think because I have a trading plan and it worked once or twice, then now it's going to work again and it's going to work in the long term and I'm just going to make money. But the reality is that's not how the market works, right? You need to be able to prove that your trading plan works over a long period of time. You need proof. How do you get proof? You take your trading plan into historical data. Historical data simply referring to if today is the 1st of January 2025, I want to go back to the 1st of January 2024 and I want to take that trading plan and play that trading plan every single day and see what happens if I just follow that plan. That is essentially you testing your plan. Now, the reality is most people don't know how to create a plan and they don't know how to test that plan, right? That's understandable. But this is essentially what you need to do, right? So you need to take that plan, test it on historical data, and then you're going to have two outcomes. It's either going to be profitable, right? So you're maybe happy about it, or it's going to be unprofitable. And if it's unprofitable, you're probably going to be unhappy about it. If it's profitable and you're happy, you can essentially then move on to the next step. If it's unprofitable and you're unhappy, you need to go and look at the data. And then you need to allow the data to tell you what is wrong. And then you need to be able to fix it. And then this becomes a cycle. So you collect the data, it tells you what's wrong, right? These are the wrong things. Now you need to go and fix those things. And then you test again. And then you collect the data, you see what went wrong, you fix, you test, you collect what's wrong, you fix it, until eventually that ends up with you having a profitable strategy. Now, this isn't an idea of what can work. No, you have to be able to do this. Because if you can't do this, then you aren't going to achieve success. If you can't do this, you will never be able to make money as a trader because you need a profitable trading strategy. So, you have your goal. You know what you need to have in order to achieve that goal, right? You have a goal. You know that you need the funding to achieve it. In order to get the funding, you need to have a trading plan, something that you can trade daily that will actually get you funded. And then when you're funded, will help you achieve your goal. In order to have a trading plan that is going to work, you have to have developed your concepts, right? And then turn them into a trading plan and then tested your trading plan to ensure that it works. So you have your goal, you have your funding, you have your trading plan, you have your concepts, you've already tested. Now the final piece of the puzzle is you need to have a performance system, right? Because here's the reality. So many people have a profitable trading strategy. I could give you probably right now a profitable trading strategy, and I can almost guarantee that you won't make money because it's not just about the trading strategy, right? Which essentially takes me into point number 3. The strategy alone won't save you because the strategy is only a potential solution to your goal. Now you have the problem of being able to trade that strategy every single day with no performance gap. Now, essentially what happens to almost every trader that gets a trading strategy in the beginning that doesn't understand what I'm sharing with you right now is they think everything is good until they get to the markets. They've back-tested their strategy, right? And the strategy that they back-tested, maybe they back-tested 1 year's worth of data, and let's say for math's sake, it did 110% for that year. So the potential for that strategy is 110%. But the reality is that when someone goes to trade that strategy, right, your job as a trader is to match those results. You now need to show up every single day, trade your plan, don't make any mistakes, take every trade that shows itself, don't avoid any trades, and then you will be able to par that return. But that's another task in of itself, because what happens to most people is they get given a strategy, they come to the live market, but their trading is uncorrelated. What I've seen so many times is people have a strategy, but for some reason, their strategy is profitable, and then they trade that strategy, and then they lose money. You may be wondering, how is that even possible? I have a strategy that's proven to work. How is somebody trading that strategy and losing money? Or some people maybe get a little bit of that. So maybe, for example, the strategy returns 110%, but maybe the person only returned 15% in the live market. Still profitable, awesome. It's not exactly going to get you to your goal, and it's not going to give you financial freedom. This problem is the strategy alone won't save you. It won't fix your problems. You need to be able to trade the strategy and hit those returns in the live market, but then you get hit with this, which is called the performance gap. Performance gap is simply the difference between the theoretical results that this strategy can produce and your results executing that strategy. And that's the next issue that a trader comes to, right? And so the problem here is that there's something else going on. Either you're incompetent in that strategy, but the reality is if you've tested that strategy before, then you shouldn't be incompetent. You should know your strategy. And maybe you're at this level now. You know a strategy works, you've back tested something, it's proven to work, but you can't seem to make money. That's a psychological issue. That is the performance gap. And essentially what happens is we deviate from our plan. So you're in a trade, your stop loss is down here, your take profit is up here, price is just fluctuating at your trade level, right? So let's say price is bearish like this, price comes back up, you're looking to trade short. You want to sell price in here. Price comes into here, you get triggered into your sell, your stop loss is up here. If this area gets hit, you're going to lose, let's say $1,000, right? 1% risk on a 100K account. If it hits your take profit level, you're going to gain $5,000, right? So we have a 1 to 5 risk to reward ratio, which is what my system has. Problem is that when price gets into this level and starts moving like this and coming close to this stop loss, and you look at your account and you're seeing it every time you refresh, $500 loss, $600, $650, $700. Price is getting ever so close to your stop loss. At some point in time, your emotions take over, you hijack yourself, and you convince yourself, this trade is anyway going to hit this stop loss, so let me close it now and just take a $700 loss instead of waiting for it to come up here and take a $1,000 loss, right? Your brain tricks you and justifies why you should make this decision. The reality is what is really happening. You are being hijacked. Your own brain is hijacking you. It's taking over and not allowing you to logically think and make a decision that you know you shouldn't close this trade because you've traded this strategy, you've traded this trade 100 times. You know that sometimes it comes up here and then it goes down here. But when you're in the live market, your emotional brain takes over, your logic goes out the window, and so you close this trade at $700 in a loss, only to watch it go all the way down to your take profit. And you could have had $5,000. Instead, you took a loss of $700. That is called deviance. That is you going against your plan. This is happening to everyone. Even the best traders sometimes deal with deviation. It's about how well you're able to control yourself, which again is that point. The strategy alone won't save you. You need to work on your psychology, your ability to hold the trade. And again, some of you may already be dealing with this and you'll understand this so much more because this is something that I massively struggled with a couple of years ago. But some of you maybe don't understand this yet. And I'll be honest with you, you are in for a shock if you think it's just going to be as easy as what these guys tell you. I'm telling you now, success as a trader is how well am I able to trade my plan. The misconception that so many traders have, especially beginner traders who are losing, is that success in trading means making money. That's what they believe. They believe that success equals making money. How can it not? It's not how it works. Your goal is to execute your plan because you know that your plan, if followed properly over the span of a year, is going to net you whatever the capability of that strategy is. So your only job as a trader is to follow your plan. And the problem that people have is they get hijacked by their amygdala, which is their emotional brain. I can go so much deeper on this, but for the purpose of this video, I'll keep it simple. You get hijacked, and therefore you make emotional decisions instead of logical ones. And that keeps so many traders stuck in that 99%. And if you really want to break through to become a top 1% trader, you really need to be able to develop your mindset. Now, the next principle, the fourth principle, and the final one is essentially how you can put everything together. But the fourth principle that I'm going to be sharing with you, nothing will work unless you work. There's a huge misconception, and it comes back to the point, especially if you're a relatively new trader or you're a beginner, and at the moment, all you've kind of been told is what's possible, and you have all these guys telling you what you can do and what you could do and the money you could make and all this stuff. What they don't tell you is that nothing works unless you do. Pretty self-explanatory. Trading requires the work. It requires you to put in the work to achieve your goals. Now, again, there's another misconception here that people have around what it actually means to work as a trader. So every person has control over their time, right? And their money. Those are the two real big kind of resources that you have available for you. Of course, you have also your focus, but that's pretty much your time. So you have time and you have money. Now, how the real world, the normal world works is that you trade time for money. And the more time that you spend, the more money you will make, right? That is a linear return on your investment. Trading is a little bit different. It requires a short-term sacrifice. It requires delayed gratification because undoubtedly there will be a period of time where you're putting in all of this work, but you're not seeing the results that you want to see. And the reality is you've been programmed to believe that any ounce of effort, time, or money that I invest, I should start seeing an immediate return. If your boss phones you and says, hey, we've got some extra hours open, do you want to do some overtime? And you accept it, you go to work, you clock in the extra 4 hours, and you get paid in proportion to the time. Immediate response, immediate reaction. The culture that we live in doesn't really help as well. You have all of this short form, all of these young guys who are all these millionaires, everybody's exaggerating their lifestyle. It forces you to want things fast. We live in a world where everything happens so fast. Immediate food delivery, Amazon same-day delivery, instant gratification from Reels and TikTok and dopamine hits. And it's trained us as a society, very unfortunately so, to become very focused on immediate returns. This is something I see a lot of traders struggle with when they try to make that jump to become a trader, because trading is a little bit different. You see, trading, you have the time and then you have the return. Now, if you're just starting out, you're down here. What happens though is you start putting in your time like this, and you're putting in all of this time and you're not seeing any return. If you put the same amount of time into your, let's say your 9 to 5, you'd be getting paid. And you have all these people around you, parents, spouses, friends, colleagues, whatever, they're saying, you're wasting your time trying to do this trading things. Have you made any money yet? No, it's been 6 months. How long have you invested? I've been doing like 3-4 hours a day. 3-4 hours a day, 6 months, you haven't made $1, you need to quit. That's what's going to be in your ear. And that's probably in your own head as well. And so there's this kind of uncorrelated return. And that kills so many traders. Because what happens at some point is they just go, oh, I'm done. I want to give up. Because no one explains this to them, right? The only thing that a lot of these, especially beginners, has been explained is follow my strategy, buy my course, buy my signals, and you'll be rich in 90 days. You'll start making money immediately. And the reality is when that doesn't work, and then they have to really decide, okay, do I really want this? Or am I just going to quit and move to the next thing? Because that's what the 99% are. But trading is different, right? You see, you know why there's such a high success rate with something like a dentist? Because if you wanted to be a dentist, let's say, right, You wanted to be a dentist. You know what you're getting yourself into. You don't go to your university application and see that they're selling a course on how to become a dentist, which is what it is. They don't tell you, hey, buy my course today, limited time offer, and you'll become a dentist in 90 days, right? That doesn't happen, right? You don't get misled. When you go to apply to become a dentist, they say, hey, this is gonna take 5 to 7 years. You're gonna have to work every day studying to achieve this. It's gonna cost you $30,000. And at the end of it, if you don't quit, there's a good chance that you'll become a dentist. The problem though, with a dentist, is you don't really get to achieve the same level of exponential return that you could if you were a trader. Because a dentist is really just a luxury 9 to 5. You put in time, you get a little bit more money. You put in the same amount of hours as the mechanic down the road, maybe you get paid 3 times as much, 2 times as much. And then you also get a higher tax bracket, and so you end up taking home less, right? So essentially, that's the expectations that get set. So that's why no one's out there when they go to try to be a dentist, after 6 months, they're not telling themselves, oh, this is a scam. You know, your mom doesn't tell you, you've been studying dentistry for 6 months and you still haven't made $1, you still haven't got a degree. No, because the expectations were set beforehand. But because they keep lying to you, it becomes way more difficult to deal with the period of time where you're putting in all this effort all the time and you're not getting the results. However, if you do stick it out, take this as someone who's talking from experience, right? I've put this time in when I didn't see any returns. If you stick it out, when it clicks, this happens. You put in the same amount of time, but the return becomes exponentially greater. You can only make more money if you're a dentist or you work a 9 to 5 if you spend more time. Maybe you get a promotion every couple of years and make an extra 10%, right? Woo-wee. Inflation kills you anyway. If you're a trader, you can scale your assets under management. So you can take the exact same trade, but instead of taking it on a $100,000 account, you take it on $1 million account. You risk 1%, you return 5%. It would have been $5,000 on your $100,000 account, but now you have $1 million under management, and instead of 5,000, it's 50,000. You spent the same amount of time analyzing the charts, taking the trade, managing the position, journaling your charts, but you made 10 times the amount than when you had 100K. That's leverage. And that's something that trading unlocks, but only if you can get through what I call the valley of despair. The valley of despair is essentially when you're putting in the time and you're not getting the results. And everyone around you, including yourself, is thinking, I'm wasting my time. But the reality is, if you're truly serious about becoming a top 1% trader, that's the reality. And then you have to ask yourself, knowing all of this, is that what you want? Because it's available, right? Everything that you want and more can be achieved from trading. You can absolutely achieve all of the freedom from trading. You can make millions of dollars a year from trading with the same amount of time that you invested when you was making $500 a year from trading, technically speaking. The only difference is you scale up your assets under management. That is called leverage. But you have to go through the steps that I've just outlined. You have to, first and foremost, forget about the people that keep lying to you, because it's not going to do anything to you, right? You can stay there, you can keep hoping and wishing and praying that there's a quick way to get rich and become a millionaire, but then you wake up a year down the line, 2 years down the line, and it didn't happen for you. There's the real way, which is the process that I've outlined, all of the steps that you can follow that will get you the results. There's the understanding that the strategy alone won't make you profitable. Everybody's searching for a strategy. Go on YouTube now, type trading strategy, you'll see a million different videos. I guarantee you there's some profitable ones there. I have YouTube videos of strategies that work, but people still can't make money from them because they still aren't able to control their psychology. They're still not able to do what they need to do. The things that we discussed in the real way, which leads me onto point number 5, how to achieve it ASAP. Because don't get me confused, right? I'm not the type of person who believes that you should work more than you have to. No, I want to work as little as possible to get the most out of my time. That's how I see the world. I want to do things that have the largest upside. So I still want everything as soon as possible. I just don't delude myself with unrealistic expectations that aren't going to work. I want to look at the way that can achieve it as soon as possible, because we want to be achieving our goal as fast as possible, of course. And so the first option you have is take this framework. I've give you the blueprint. I've give you the way that you can do it. If you can figure out how to do the back testing, how to build the trading strategy, how to know whether you're actually understanding market structure, supply and demand, everything that you need to do is there. If you want to go away and do that, be willing to do the work, you'll achieve the results. It'll be difficult. Along the way, you'll come across obstacles and you'll have to try to figure it out because no one's telling you exactly how to do it. We're just giving you the framework. You can go and do these things and you'll get the results. But the how to achieve it, what exactly to do, that is something that I teach my specific mentorship students, right? I mean, I've already showed you the level of student success that we've had. I've had a trader who was trading for 7 years, unprofitable, consistently. Within 6 months of joining, he was already at the point of making $10,000, $20,000 a month from trading just because he was able to pick up on the few things that he wasn't doing. He'd already had a good understanding of how to read the market. There was a bunch of things that he wasn't doing. And so that's your first option. Your first option is you can try to figure it out. And the reality is it will work, but it will take a lot longer. It will be more difficult. It will be psychologically more tiring because you've got to figure out how to do everything. You don't really know if you're doing everything right. You want to ask someone questions and there's no one around to ask, right? You can figure it out yourself. I'm giving you all the information that you need to be able to do it. The second way is you can essentially do something called done with you. Done with you is essentially someone like myself, doesn't have to be me, but someone like myself who understands how to do it, has done it themselves, has helped other people do it, and will show you step by step and do it with you so that you can get the results faster. Because again, we want it as soon as possible. You don't want to be waiting a year, 2 years, 3 years, which is realistically what it may take if you try and do everything on your own. You want it as soon as possible. And the fastest way to do that is finding someone who has already done it, proven they've done it, and who's willing to help you at a fee. I myself personally pay tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars each and every year for people's advice, right? Whether it be nutritionists, health people, doctors, lawyers. I am doing this also because there are things that I also want to do in life. And for me, I care about results as soon as possible. And I know the way to get results as soon as possible is finding someone who has done it, pay them money, and then have them do it with you. Because the reality is, yes, it does cost money. There's no two ways around it. But it's an investment. You're investing the money and you're gonna see an outsized return in the future. That is an investor, you're a trader. You're gonna be doing this on a daily basis, risking money to make more money later. That's what it is. That's the trade. Because there's also another reality of if you don't do this, not only can option number one of trying to figure everything out yourself, which again is completely possible, but not only does it take longer, it could end up costing more money than paying someone else to do it with you. Why? Because maybe you buy prop firm accounts and keep failing them. Maybe you load up your account thinking you're ready and you're not. Maybe you have your strategy and everything's great, but you're taking trades and you're blowing accounts, not because you don't have a strategy, but because you don't know how to control your psychology. And you've got to figure all of these things out yourself, try to understand all of these things that I've personally spent the last 6 years and longer than that before I was even a trader, figuring out on how to be a top 1% human, let alone trader. The reality is everything that you do to become a top 1% trader is the same thing you do to become a top 1% human. So those are your two options. You can either try to figure out how to do it yourself, or you can try to get someone to do it with you. But regardless of whatever you choose, understand this 5-step framework, especially if you're a beginner trader who's serious about achieving success. If you follow this framework, it's going to leave you with the highest chance of becoming that top 1% trader. Now, for those of you who do want to operate with us, with me, with my team, below the video, I'll leave a link. You can try to book a call, speak to one of the members of the team. They'll understand where you're at with your situation and understand whether or not we can even help you. There may not be spaces available, but if there is, and you're serious, you can try the done with you method and learn from someone who actually has the results and knows what they're talking about.